welcome everybody. I'm Nicole and today I am doing a very bad idea and very last minute idea of getting involved with Becca's Becca-plethon. So basically for the last few months I haven't been reading loads. I've been watching shows, I guess, more often than not, like catching up on old TV shows that I never finished and all that kind of stuff. But that means I haven't been watching a lot of YouTube like at all. So I missed out, I feel like, on a load of things that I would have loved to have taken part in, but I just wasn't in that mind space. But I'm back in that mind space, although I'm feeling like I'm getting back into that mind space. And I've seen a few things which I would have loved to have taken part in. One of those things being Becca's Becca-plethon. And I've been watching like people's TBRs, and I watched the whole thing that inspired this idea was Meg from Meg with Books, and she did a video where she tried to complete the Becca-plethon, the month-long Becca-plethon, in 48 hours. And so I'm sitting there watching like all these videos and I realise it's still September. Like I have a week left of September. Today is the 23rd, so I have a week today. So I'm not saying I can complete 5 books in 7 days. Can I? No. But I just, I watched like the creation of it and the board and all this stuff. It's just so cute, and I've always loved watching Becca's videos and her TBR videos, and it's always just looked like so much fun, and I really wanted to do it, so I figured why not. And I couldn't come up with a reason as to why not. So last night, probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock, I looked up all the PDFs, I printed them off, I sat there cutting everything out, setting everything up, writing everything out, and I filmed my roles. So let's just get into them. Round 1, here we go. 6, a dark cover. So as you can see, round 1 was a dark cover, so a cover of a book which is dark essentially. And for that I have chosen The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James, because I have had this on my bookshelf for so long and I just haven't gotten around to it yet, and this just, it's like the perfect time, I think it's the perfect time. So we're finally going to do it, finally going to read it. So from the sounds of it, this book follows a girl named Romy Silvers, and she is aboard a spaceship heading for a new planet, but something happens, don't know what yet, but something happens and she ends up being the only surviving crew member. She thinks that she is completely alone until she hears that Earth have launched a second spaceship with one person on there, somebody called Jay. Now this gives me the Loneliness of Distant Beings vibes, not from the plot, but it's set in space and it's about an entire crew going on a spaceship to a new planet. So that already interests me a lot. I absolutely loved that book, so here's hoping I love this one just as much. Alright, second row. Okay, so that's 7. 7, POC rep. As you can see, my second role was POC rep, and for POC rep I have chosen You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. So You Should See Me in a Crown follows the story of a young girl called Liz. She, from the sounds of it, is in school and she really wants to do something with her life. She wants to go to this elite college and she wants to get out of the town that she's living in now. And the thing about Liz's school is that they offer a scholarship program to prom king and queen. So my guess, it's not really a guess, it's implied that she runs or goes for prom king and queen. I don't really get prom king and queen. We don't have them over here, I don't think. I see a lot of it on American like TV shows, but I don't know a lot about it. I'm familiar, wait no, that wasn't prom, wait was it Prom Queen and Mean Girls? Was she the one who, well I know she was the one who broke up all the pieces of the crown and threw it out to everybody. Was that Prom Queen? I'm getting sidetracked. But yes, I am very, very excited to read this one. I've heard fantastic things about it and I cannot wait to read it, whether it's for this challenge or just at any point in the future. And it's time for roll number 3. Oh crap, what is that? Is that a 3 or a 6? Oh, I'll roll again. Oh crap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Own voices. My third roll got me own voices and I got a double. So I'll be adding 1 to what I was originally intending. I originally intended 5. I think that's what she does or that's what she aims for. So now it's up to 6 books. And I have chosen The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. This is one that I have had again on my TBR for a while and I've so wanted to read it. I read Everything a few years ago and I absolutely loved it. I've seen the trailer for this movie and I really want to watch it because it just looks so good. I looked it up and apparently this is own voices. I know that Nicola Yoon is Jamaican and I know the person that we follow in the story, Natasha, is Jamaican. I think I also read that it does actually draw from her own life experiences and we follow Natasha as she's 12 hours away from getting deported from her home in New York to Jamaica, and from the sounds of it it's a little bit of a love story, so I'm very intrigued. 11. 1, 2, 3. 11. Chance. Okay. Here we go. Oh, the dark. Oh, you can't see it. I don't know if you can see that. No, you can't. Okay, so essentially this is the Dark Days Club. I'm actually very happy about that one. So as you know, my 4th roll got me a chance card, and as you know, that got me The Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman. This is another one I have had on my TBR for so long. This book is one of the ones that I put in there that I was very excited about, which sounds strange because I haven't picked it up in all the years that I have it. I always reach something else, but I have a few books that are always like in the back of my head and this is one of them. The Dark Days Club is set in London in 1812. We follow Lady Helen Wrexall and she is about to step into Regency society to find a husband. Instead, what happens from the sounds of it is she meets somebody named Lord Carlston and he believes that she has a sacred duty to protect humanity. So instead she ends up being drawn into this world of demonic creatures and deadly powers and an underworld, I guess, that she never knew existed. I haven't read this, obviously, that's just what I'm going from the back. She might know it exists, maybe she didn't know that she was meant to be the one to protect everyone. I don't know yet, but it just sounds so cool. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What is that? Randomise your TBR. And for roll number 5 we had randomise your TBR. It seemed like such an innocent one. So, Karenina. 800 pages? Are you kidding me? So I sat there for a bit and I thought about it. I thought about it a bit more. And I thought about it a bit more. And then this happened. I cannot read Anna Karenina right now. Like, for a multitude of reasons. One, like, I already do not stand a chance. And you want me to read Anna Karenina? Are you insane? But then here's what happened. So I got to a book in a series that I am not up to yet. And thinking about it now, I could just read the one that I'm already up to. But I kind of didn't think of that at the time. And so this happened. And once again, we're at a book that I'm not up to in that series yet. And this series, I want to start again from the beginning. It's a series that I loved when I was a kid, and the author is bringing out new books. I don't think I finished the series when I was a kid, so I want to go from beginning to end. And I didn't think about just doing the first book, so here we go again. And this time it was another sequel, so clearly something wants me to read sequels for some reason, and it was Hunting Prince Dracula by Karenina. I read Stalking Jack the Ripper this year and absolutely fell in love with it. I wanted to read this one in October, but at this point I will take what I can get. So we're reading Hunting Prince Dracula. I really hope I get to this one because, like I say, I loved Stalking Jack the Ripper. So I'm so excited to see new adventures with these characters. Now, I hear what you're saying. Like, don't think I don't hear you. Here's the thing, I was quite happy with Hunting Prince Dracula, but I heard this like voice and I could hear it and it sounded a lot like Becca, and she was telling me that because I took so many roles to get that book, I would need to take a punishment book. And I thought a little bit about how to do this, and I figured, well, if Randomize Your TBR got me into this, Randomize Your TBR can deal with the fallout. So time on the first try we got The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This used to be 7.5 deaths, I'm sure of it. Oh no, is it 7.5 deaths now? Or is that just in the US? And is that because of the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo? I have a lot of questions about this book, none of which currently relate to the actual book, but I have heard that this one is really good. I remember when I picked this up, they said in the shop that it was a really good read and I meant to read it and I didn't. So this sounds like one of those Groundhog Day episodes. You know, like, I swear so many shows have the Groundhog Day episode. I know Supernatural had it. I know Charmed had it. I feel like there are loads. Oh, wasn't True Calling was basically like a Groundhog Day series, right? Because does anyone remember True Calling, where she was somebody who worked with like the dead, and then the dead would come to life and be like, help me. And then the day would reverse and then she would have to like go and find these people and save them before they got back on the table. No? Anybody? Anybody remember that? I loved that show. Anyway, Evelyn Hardcastle, she is continuously killed from the sounds of it. Her parents throw a party and every day she is killed before she can be saved. And the only way to break the cycle is to identify Evelyn's killer. The second part of this description confuses me. Did they just say the name of the person who's killing her? I will let you know when I know, if I know. Good luck with that. And the last roll is... This is Karma. This is Karma because I watched one of Becca's videos earlier of her September TBR and I laughed that the last one wasn't the last one, so you get what's coming to you, folks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, TBR vet. That should be interesting. Karma is real, people. Karma is real. So for TBR vet, I had two choices in mind. I had The Death Collector and Partials. The Death Collector, I can't remember who it's by. Partials is by Dan Wells, and I really wanted to read that one. I also wanted to read The Death Collector, but I could not for the life of me find it. And then I remembered this. Now, I don't think this is the oldest book on my TBR, but I know I was there for the release of this book. Like, they had this thing set up in Waterstones, and I didn't really know anything about the book or the author. I was just there, and I ended up taking this book away with me. I bought it, obviously, but I haven't read it. I don't really know, like, the blurb I feel like basically tells you the story. I haven't read it yet. Okay, so it's about a young girl named Abigail Brown. I knew that. Oh, this book is called The Enchantment of Abigail Brown, so I knew that part. She's a smart girl. She is academically brilliant and bullied at school. She comes across a cat who introduces himself. Okay, it does sound kind of interesting. So from the sounds of it, she isn't from Earth. She's from a completely different world, and this cat reintroduces her to the world in which she was born. So my second to last book is The Enchantment of Abigail Brown by Mark Waters, and who knows, I'll probably end up loving it after this. And last? Yes, last one is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ebook or audiobook? Very cool. And my actual last roll is to read an ebook or an audiobook. And I went back and forth on this because I have a lot of my ebook that I want to read, and I have a few audiobooks. Well, I have a lot of audiobooks that I want to read. But I felt like I should get some non-fiction into... I don't really care. I don't really know what I'm fancying like for an audiobook, because I kind of want to read an audiobook, but I don't know what I fancy. Part of me wants to read one, but it's only 48 minutes long, and that felt like such a cop-out. I'm still tempted to read it, to be completely honest with you. Oh, I really can't decide. Here's the thing. I'm tempted to read this book. Like I say, it's only like 48 minutes. But it's called Love Yourself, and it's a 21-day plan for learning self-love to cultivate self-worth, self-belief, self-confidence and happiness. And part of me just wants to put it to the test, like, can you do what you say on the tin? Obviously I'm going to have to be the one doing it though. Like, don't get me wrong, I get the whole idea of self-love and self-care and all that kind of stuff, and I totally get that. It was just the whole like 21-day plan. Maybe I should. Maybe after saying that I should read it. I'm not in the mood for something really heavy, I think, at the moment. I think that's the issue that I'm coming across, and I only really listen to non-fiction. Okay, so I think... Okay, so because I'm not in the mood for anything heavy, I think I will go for the Love Yourself one. It is only 48 minutes though, so what I'll do is if I feel like it's a cop-out, which it is, I might read another one. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it right now. Part of me thinks it's a gimmick. Actually, most of me thinks it's a gimmick. Not the whole concept of self-love or self-care. I'm totally behind that. I totally on board with that. It's just the Love Yourself, our 21-day plan. I don't know, but the only way I know for sure is to read it. I guess the only way really to know for sure is to implement it. But for now we will read it and we will see how it goes. So it's quite late, but I just wanted to come on here and give a little bit of an update. I have finished The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James. I'll give more in-depth thoughts in the wrap-up at the end. My first impressions were, I think I found myself smiling and thoroughly enjoying myself throughout the entirety of the first half of this book. There was a point I realised I was too happy, and like I say, I'll go more in depth in that a little bit later. But overall, it's not perfect. I wouldn't say it's without its flaws. There was stuff that I wasn't necessarily 100% keen on. There are moments I wasn't confused throughout most of it, but the antagonist at the end did confuse me a little bit. It's really hard to say why, I feel like, without giving a lot of spoilers, but I would say overall I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I say, I'll give my in-depth thoughts a little bit later, but yeah, I'm very happy that I've read this one. It definitely turns into something you don't necessarily expect, and I can't tell whether I loved or hated that. Like, this is definitely a book that you see it coming, but then there's also a bit that you don't necessarily see coming. I feel like it's one of those instances where I wanted to be wrong. Like, I feel like I knew what was coming, like, at one point. Okay, so basically, the only way I can liken it is to a TV show I watched years ago, 4 or 5 years ago maybe, Full House. There was an episode where their bapu, their grandfather, came over from Greece, and it was a really lovely episode, and it got to a bit where they would have put a break, and I caught myself and I was like, oh, this is a really lovely episode, I'm really loving it. And it was at that point I realised something is about to go horribly wrong. And with this book, it was really interesting because I had this nagging like in the back of my head, and I was ignoring it. Like, I did not want to know. I had this nagging like something isn't right, something isn't right. But I was just like, no, I don't care, ignore. And then I caught myself at one point thinking, oh, this is like a really sweet book, I'm really enjoying it. And then I had that same feeling of something is about to go horribly wrong. And at that point I started paying attention to the nagging voice telling me something's not right, something feels familiar about this, something is off, kind of thing. I was like, oh, fine. And then I guess I kind of realised what was going on, but which made me sad, and I really wanted to be wrong, but I wasn't. But then, like I say, there was another bit at the end which I personally wasn't expecting, so I liked that. And then there was a resolution as well, which was really nice, and trying to talk without giving too much away. But yes, even though this ended up being a book where it was just like, I hate it but I love it, but I hate it and I love it. I said I was going to talk about it more in the wrap up, but I feel like I just did. What are you going to do? The next book I'm going to be moving on to was my second role, and it is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I read a chapter earlier today. Not a lot has happened, but it's setting the scene quite nicely. She's already said like how she doesn't like to be the focus of attention, so you're already thinking about how that is going to play out. So far there seems to be some interesting friendship dynamics, and there's one of those instances where it's like they used to be friends and they're not anymore, and so I assume that's gonna play out to something, but I don't know what yet. But yeah, so this one is my next read and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm realising my attire is somewhat summery considering it's the 1st of August. October. Oh god, where am I? What year am I in? And with it being the 1st of October, we have officially come to the end of the BookoplAthon, or BookoplAthon. I never knew how to pronounce that. Oh well. So as you know, I finished The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James, and I think you heard my full thoughts on this. Essentially, I very much enjoyed it. There were some confusing bits with the antagonist. I wasn't really sure about the ending. Like, the ending I liked, but it was like, she wanted us to know that he was a bad guy, like the author. She wanted us to know that he was a bad guy, but she didn't want us to think that it was because of like the main character that he was doing what he was doing. Like, we knew that anyway, and I don't think there was just this one line at the end, and I don't think it was necessary, because I think what I'm trying to say is that I think it did a disservice to
the antagonist, because I think it made him seem like less of a threat.
I mean, maybe it made the antagonist seem more human. Maybe that was the idea of it. Maybe it was just to make the antagonist seem more human. But it just didn't work for me. It kind of brought me out of the story a little bit, I guess. But having said that, overall I did really enjoy this. I gave this 4 stars overall, and I really enjoyed myself reading it. I was hoping it would go a different way. I think I said that earlier. I think I said I really wanted to be wrong, and I really did want to be wrong, but I wasn't. And yeah, but nevertheless, I still enjoyed myself reading it. The second book that I finished was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. So this book, it was so good. I was happy, and then I was also sad, and I welled up, and I laughed, and I nearly cried. I didn't cry, but it was so good. Like, it was so good. There were some lines in this which I just thought were really cool and really on point, and just the whole story, it was so good. And when she was talking about the anxiety, and so there was a situation in here with a friend. It was like a childhood friend, and I found it really interesting because it wasn't the same situation, but I had a similar situation. And so reading that scene, my heart just broke for Liz. The ending, I think, is the cutest, sweetest. Like, I can't with that ending. It was just, oh, it was so good. And it's interesting because there are some really light-hearted moments in here, but at the same time it deals with some really heavy topics, and I think it does it so well. It was just so good. It's absolutely fantastic. I gave it 5 stars. Yeah, I loved it. I'm so happy that I read this book. The next book that I read, The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, and how have I not read this yet? Like, how had I not read this yet? So it was kind of the perfect time, I think, to read it, because it actually takes place in the fall, which I didn't know. I thought it would be more of a summary book, but I think sun is also deceiving here. But this one had that moment where you realise why the book is named what it is, and it's like, oh, okay. But it was so good. For God's sake. Apparently all I can say is so good, but it was so good. So in this book we follow Natasha and Daniel. Natasha is a young girl, and she is, in 12 hours, is about to be deported to Jamaica. Daniel is a young man who has an interview regarding his possible future at Yale, and they end up meeting. It's quite interesting, the sequence of events that had to happen in order for these two to meet. But it was, I love that kind of thing. I love see that sequence of events because it's really interesting to think about, and I really loved the characters in here. So essentially, I guess what happens is Daniel and Natasha meet, and for reasons, he really wants to get to know her. He thinks fate's involved, and he really thinks that those two are destined to meet on that day and potentially fall in love. And so they both have like other stuff to do. She wants to focus on not getting deported. He needs to go to his Yale interview, but in amongst all that, they end up spending the day together, and they end up like meeting each other's families, and like it was just one long date. They did a lot of stuff. And this book made me realise some stuff about myself as well, which I think is really interesting. I think it's really cool when a book can do that. The ending did a thing, and books might do this thing, movies might do this thing, TV shows might do this thing, and it's not a thing that I love. I get it. I get that this thing is really sweet. I get it, but I don't like it. It's one of those bittersweet things, but for me, I don't know why, I focus more on the bitter part than the sweet part. It was really sweet, but this is, I guess, the second time I wish a book had gone a different way. But I thoroughly enjoyed myself reading this book. It was so much fun to read. The characters were so good. I thoroughly enjoyed reading about them and getting to know them. They were so different, but so I think similar in other ways. They were going around doing different things and answering the questions. It's just like, that was just so cute. It was so cute. And now I really want to watch the movie. I hope it's as good because I love it. I love it so much. The last book that I read, I haven't technically read it all yet. I got 212 pages into the Dark Days Club. And 212 pages, I am loving it so far. It is so much fun. It's very much, this is the first book and we're very much getting all the characters and stuff, like who they are, what they're about. I'm on chapter 15 and we're just really, I suppose, getting into, like, she's pretty much just found out who she is. So let's be real, it says on the cover, Duchess or Demon Slayer, does Lady Helen have a choice? So she's just found out essentially that she was born to be a Demon Slayer, or what they call a Reclaimer. It's so much fun. I love anything kind of to do with supernatural and demon slaying and witchcraft, and this doesn't really have a lot to do with witchcraft from what I can tell. Like, this is just the first book, but they don't seem to be supernatural in a sense. They seem to have these abilities, definitely, but not abilities like Charmed. So in Charmed, where they had like the telekinesis and astral projection and molecular combustion and premonitions and all this, they don't have that kind of thing. She did think at one point that she was seeing into the future, but it turns out that it isn't that, it's something else, but it's really interesting still. So yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. There is characters which I love, and I don't think, okay, I take that back, there's a couple of characters who I really not that keen on, but most of them I do really like so far. One thing I will say, I don't know why, but from the description I thought Lord Colston was like in his 60s, and they kept like talking about him and like saying this stuff, and I'm just like, why? He's like in his 60s. And so I went online and the only thing I could find was in French, but even with it being in French, I found he's 25. Like the dude is younger than me, like by 2 years, but still. I don't know why I thought he was so much older, but now I've had to like go back and revise all of the scenes with him in, just to be like, oh, so that makes more sense now. So that was the thing. It takes place in London in 1812, and the setting is really like London and dark and gloomy, and it's good. It's a good read so far. I hope it continues to be a good read. I did not get onto Hunting Prince Dracula or Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle or The Enchantment of Abigail Brown. I know what you're thinking, if I just left it with Anna Karenina, then I would only have 2 books unread instead of 1, but to that I say I don't care. I was never gonna get to Anna Karenina. I thought I might have a bit more time this week to maybe get through at least like the rest of that book, or maybe start on Hunting Prince Dracula, but it didn't work out. I'm okay with that. I'm very happy with what I have read, especially considering this was last minute. So yeah. So within the week, I feel like I've done alright. I feel like I've done pretty well. And I suppose that's it. If you have made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I really enjoyed myself. I love that board. Like, I hope this happens again, because I still have it. I haven't thrown it away. I have all like the little pieces and everything. Yeah. And I'm really glad, because it's made me read stuff like that I may not have gotten around to, but it was just stuff that was always on like the back of my mind, like the Loneliest Girl in the Universe, or Sun Is Also a Star had been on there for years as well. The Dark Days Club, literally years. These books have been on my shelf and I haven't gotten around to reading them. So this challenge has really helped me just like explore my shelves a little bit more and just go, oh, which would work for which challenge, and oh, that one could work really well and I've been wanting to read it, so why not? And yeah, it's been perfect. I really enjoyed it, and like I say, thank you so much for watching if you have gotten this far. I hope if you have done this challenge as well that you were more successful than me, and yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!